New fallout after a bloody weekend of gun violence in America's cities. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp calling in the National Guard after 31 people were shot in Atlanta and an 8-year-old girl was killed. New York City is seeing a spike in crime, shootings up 130% last month compared to the same time last year. And a shocking video shows a father gunned down crossing the street in broad daylight with his 6-year-old daughter as he holds her hand. Mayor Bill de Blasio under pressure to act. The New York Post telling him to do something. The cover very similar to the 1990s when Mayor David Dinkins experienced a crime wave. All of this happening in the backdrop of the defund the police movement. Relatives of victims of gun violence are saying we need more cops to prevent violence.
We can't take money from the police department. We need the police. You take the police from there and we wind up having less police officers in the street, less detectives. It's not going to work. The crime is going to get worse. If we're going to go after the police officers when they hurt someone that looked like me, we need to go after the people that look like me that hurt people that look like me.
And CNN's Don Lemon causing controversy for lecturing actor Terry Crews over Black Lives Matter.
Black people need to hold other Black people accountable. I said this the same thing. This is the Black America's version of the Me Too movement.
The Black Lives Matter movement was started because it was talking about police brutality. If you want an all Black Lives Matter movement that talks about gun violence in communities, including, Black communities, then start that movement with that name. But that's not what Black Lives Matter is about.
So we'll get to all of this. Juan, let me start with you. So we have the worst violent crime wave in years, just about days after city officials took $1 billion away from the NYPD to appease some pretty violent people that were outside demanding that $1 billion be cut from the NYPD. And now you have this violent crime. If you think back to the 1990s and how bad it got then and how long it took to get things back to a safe place so that New York City could be that thriving, safe city. What do you think should be done? And if the papers are calling for Mayor de Blasio to try to finally do something, will he listen to those communities that are asking for more police, not fewer?
I think they want better police, Dana. I think that, let's debunk this theory that somehow there's this crime wave going on out there. The reality is, crime is down in the top 25 American cities, 5%. Violent crime is down 2%. But what you have is murder up about 16% in those 25 big American cities. But note, even as we're talking about that, you should keep in mind that the murder rate that we're experiencing now in a place like New York is the same as it was in 2015. So there's a lot of politics loaded into the way that people are looking at what I see as an explosion in terms of gun violence. And why is that? I think it's, according to the experts, they point at a lot of these gangsters, a lot of these drug dealers, even a surge in terms of domestic violence cases, and it's all really being accelerated by easy access to guns. We're looking at gun violence. So to me, what we have here is a mixed situation, and it comes in the aftermath, of course, of the George Floyd case. But I just really object to the suggestion that the police aren't doing their job, or that somehow, because of increased scrutiny on police after the George Floyd murder, that police are backing off. The police aren't committing these murders that are resulting in the spike. This is black-on-black crime in poor neighborhoods done by hoodlums. And that's why I say, of course, every community wants better policing, but it's not to be somehow used to dilute people who are upset over police brutality in America.
All right, Emily, let me ask you about that, because how do you can't solve other problems in terms of getting, even if you wanted reform or better policing, if you are in the middle of a situation where you have what I'm looking at, like some pretty shocking statistics when it comes to increase in crime.
That's exactly right, Dana. This requires a cohesion that a lot of these big cities are missing to include two really important elements, which are enforcement and follow through. So what does it matter if we call for more cops or we bring in the National Guard to augment local departments if they're not able to make any arrests? Or if they are, but then there isn't a prosecution? Or if there's a prosecution, but there aren't actual deterrent consequences or judicial discretion to, say, withhold bail or to make an exception to a pre-classified nonviolent crime if he or she feels that that situation warrants detainment or extended custody. And all of that falls flat also if state and local leadership aren't engaging in messaging of a zero tolerance for violence and crime and also support for law enforcement, both conceptual and also for the rank and file. I just see an overarching problem that at every juncture, there's a lack of follow through. And so, of course, it's going to embolden criminal behavior, both at the organized level that Juan mentioned and also the local petty level. And it also stymies then that workable solution that depends on all of those interrelated factors that I just talked about.
Yeah. Jesse, down in Georgia, where Brian Kemp, the governor, has just called in the National Guard and a state of emergency in the state, the Democratic Senate candidate, John Ossoff, is calling for gun control, not urging calm in the streets.
Well, just to go back to what Juan said crime is flat, but homicides are up. Well, homicide is a crime, Juan, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say that homicide is probably the worst crime there is. So let's just get that straight. The other thing is everybody with a brain knows that in a violent neighborhood with a lot of drug trafficking, you need a strong police presence, because what the police do, they pull people over and they take illegal guns and narcotics out of the car. They also serve warrants and take dangerous guys off the streets. They use task forces, informants, and undercovers to stop drug and illegal gun trafficking. So when the police pull back, crime surges. It also doesn't help when there's a pandemic that squeezes drug profits and the buy side falls out onto the bottom and prices drop, so people are fighting violently over a smaller piece of the pie. So now you have people fleeing cities because of the pandemic, fleeing cities because of a crime wave, and you're going to have what we saw in Manhattan, which is a gritty, ungovernable city where no one wants to live in because it's a low quality of life. Everybody knows blacks don't hate the police and the police don't hate black people. Yes, there are issues, but we can deal with them through mutual respect. And I don't think it's too late for the president to make a speech on the teleprompter that says, I feel the suffering of certain sections of black America. I understand that police take a lot of risk when they police these dangerous streets. I support both the black community and the police community, and I will pour all of the resources of the federal government to help save every single American life, because every single American life is precious, and safety is not a political issue. That could go a long way, and I don't think it's too late for him to deliver a speech like that.
Also, Greg, I did want to get back to this issue of the last night when CNN's Don Lemon had actor Terry Crews on. And you ever have a situation where a guest is invited on, or you've been a guest somewhere and the host won't let you talk? I will stop talking and allow you to talk about what happened last night on CNN.
We didn't show that clip, which was Terry Crews. He's an eloquent person trying to make a very important point, that Black Lives Matter isn't about police brutality. It's about remaking America, because they keep talking about systemic racism without specifics. And what they're trying to tell you is that we need to throw everything out. And I'm not exaggerating this, okay? Their leaders will tell you this, that they want to get rid of capitalism, patriotism, and replace it with identity politics, which pits race versus race. The belief behind that is that we are irredeemable as a country and that we are guilty of deeds of our ancestors. It's incredibly poisonous, but Don Lemon couldn't let Terry make that point. So what he did is he race-splained to Terry Crews. He talked over him and through him because he was terrified the viewers might actually hear the truth, and that he didn't want a black man's voice that wasn't Lemon's. And it's a comparison worth noting. You know, Terry Crews has been around. He played in the NFL. He's an artist. He's an activist. He's an actor. He's got 5 kids. I mean, Lemon is just a media mouthpiece. And if you take the contrast larger, as this violence explodes across the country, and by the way, Juan, nobody is saying here that the cops aren't doing their jobs. We're saying that politicians and leaders aren't letting them do their jobs. It's a very fine detail that you love to gloss over. Back to Terry Crews. Right now, what does Terry Crews care about? He cares about the suffering in his community, the real problems, the black-on-black crime. But Don Lemon is in the media, so what does he care about? Defunding the police, destroying monuments, perceived racism of products and people. So he's chasing the symbolic crap, and Terry Crews is actually trying to solve the bigger problems. And it makes you wonder, why is it that people like Don Lemon in the media don't actually want to address the real problems? Because maybe they realize that those real problems are caused by them, i.e. Democrats and liberals who run the cities, who put out these policies, who make the police stand back and prevent the police from doing their jobs and helping the people in minority neighborhoods. Maybe that's why Don Lemon doesn't want to talk about it, because it's the cities, Democrat cities, that we're seeing hell unleashed, and he doesn't want to have their viewers to see the truth, and that's why he talked over Terry Crews.
Hey, anyone out there with the emergency? We got a unit out there with the emergency. All right, anyone out there with the emergency? 2230 Robert.
Officers down! Officers down! 931! Officers down! 10-1! 10-1!
All right, everyone, let's locate this.
Officer down! Starting away!
All right, officer down.
Officer down! He does! Wallace!
Hey, we get it a 10-1. 10-1, we got officer down, 9-1 in Wallace. A 10-1, officer down, 9-1 in Wallace. All right, unit on scene. Extra. Again, 930 Wallace. We're getting a 10-1. 10-1. Wallace.
We got the car stopped at corner!
All right, car stopped at the corner. Can we get units to head that way? 9-3 in Wallace.
You ready? 6-5-6 go.
All right, first unit on scene, be alive.
Coming off Wallace from 94th. Do not come behind this car.
Do not come off of 94th. Do not come off of 94th. All right.
Got a rifle up there too. The offenders might be down.
Okay, offenders might be down. Offenders might be down as well. First unit on scene, please.
Step up that ambulance. I'm shot in the leg. Step up that ambulance.
All right, shot in the leg. Step up the ambulance. Simple.
Officer Hauser, 18523. Shot in the leg.
All right, 18523. 10-4. We got fire roll.
All right, stay away from this corner. You may still be in there.
All right,
Shoot it. We're getting shot fired.
you still getting shots fired. It's a 10-1, 9-3 in Wallace. 9-3 in Wallace. Officer down. 22nd District Zone 9. Stations clear. All right, we got units heading that way. Units on scene with the officer. All right, 2234 Robert, 2211 Robert, 12 Robert. We all got you going that way, okay?
What are you looking for?
Got officer down, 9-3 in Wallace. Any description?
9-1 Wallace, you got shots fired at the police. They call it 10-1-6.
Hey, that's all the information you got.
678.
6728.
The officer is being transported to the hospital.
All right, officers being transported to the hospital for 6728.
Closed off between California and Tennessee. Come on it, back!
I need to close off 95th between California and Kesey.
95th on California and Tennessee, the road's closed.
All right, California to Kesey on 95th, the road is closed. 67 unit coming in. 6728 Frank, go ahead.
Gonna go west.
95th and Halsted going west.
Got the officer in my car.
All right, you got the officer at 10-4. On off the street. All right, just be advised again, 995 between Kedzie and California. The road is closed. All right, we got any information on the offender?
We got 100 police out here. Where is the guy at that needs help? I know the officer's on the way, but where's the other officer that needs help?
All right, 2233 Robert Partner, where are you?
32 Robert, we got one out of the car right here on 93rd and Wallace.
All right, 32 has one out of the car, 93 and Wallace.
31, weapon recovered.
All right, weapon recovered for 32 Robert.
Another one.
All right, what's on the thing? All right, we got the other half of 33 Robert. Someone has that partner? 6728 Frank.
Coming up to Damon. I need to start that street block.
All right, we need street block. 6728 Frank, we need the street block. You're at Damon?
Coming up to Western.
All right, coming up to Western.
Over here and plug up the thing. Let that unit know that 90 shift toward Christ is blocked. The railroad is blocked.
Identifies again. 672 Frank, you copy. 5 between California and Kedzie is blocked.
Daddy. Where I can have a peace of mind, a place where little kids can trade in candy for a loaded night, and I dream of a place where there's no such thing as premeditated crime, and I can walk the streets at night without it being said, yo, that chain is mine. And I know there is a place where there is no color of my face. Where is this place? Please give me space. And let me go to a place where only I can go. Let me go. Let me go to a place where only I can know. Let me go. See, I dream of a place. Let me describe